Plenty of players out there primarily play story-driven games, and the majority tell great, fantastic stories. There are a select handful that may fail to do so. Halo 5. But that's not what this video is about. Today, I want to go over the proper way to end said stories, because at the end of the day, a bad ending can ruin an entire story. Like I Am Legend, for example. A great movie up until the end. It actually pissed me off when I first watched it. It was so bad. So what exactly makes a finale so special and meaningful? To start off, I think the build-up is super important to the impact of the finale. Having tension rise throughout the campaign is a borderline necessity. The player should be craving that big finale by the end of the game. This can be done through dialogue, actions, scenery, almost anything, honestly. Without any build-up, the ending can feel underwhelming or even straight up boring at times. A great example of a game with fantastic build-up is Portal. This game is littered with hints of what is truly going on here. GLaDOS is full of strange dialogue and will just lie to the player countless times. So when she finally shows her true colors and tries to kill you, your retaliation and escape feels so much more empowering. But Portal doesn't stop there. Throughout your escape, GLaDOS is constantly trying to gaslight you and belittle you in the hopes that you change your mind and decide to just give it all up. All this tension and unease makes the finale where you finally destroy GLaDOS feel that much more freeing. Another example of perfect build-up would be Lies of P. Throughout the game, you're under the impression that Hotel Krat is a safe haven until it gets raided and Geppetto is kidnapped. This simple action makes the finale where you find the ones who caused all this so much more important and meaningful. The other aspect of a great finale that Lies of P excels at is atmosphere. Having a final boss fight at the top of a massive tower surrounded by clouds and lightning is intense, dramatic, and flat out epic. It really sets the tone for how big of a battle this is. In my opinion, the atmosphere might be the most important part of a finale. This sets the tone for everything to happen, whether it needs to be somber, peaceful, or epic like in Lies of P. The atmosphere controls all of this. Look at Halo Reach's final mission, a suicide mission. Every turn you make, you see a dead Spartan with hordes of Covenant sprinting towards you in the distance. If this landscape was bright and clear and colorful, it would have a completely different feeling behind it and wouldn't feel as tragic. The fog, the lack of music, it all builds this feeling of despair in the player. A finale should really tug at the player's heartstrings in some form, and the atmosphere is the main factor in deciding that. With Halo fresh in mind, I think now would be the best time to go over what action adds to a finale. The final parts of the story or game should always be memorable, and what better way to achieve this than action? Creating a segment unlike anything experienced in the game before will have the player on the edge of their seat. You see this in thousands of movies like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and especially superhero movies. Action goes very much hand in hand with build-up, however, because if you build up an awesome final moment and it turns out to be stale, then you're gonna be disappointed. Or if the opposite happens and a massive event comes out of seemingly thin air, you're just gonna be confused. Halo 3's finale is the best example of an action-packed ending in my opinion. This stage has the player fighting two different enemies that have been built up for 3 games, and you finally put an end to both of them once and for all. With an emotional boss fight, beautiful cold atmosphere, and by far, the most extreme getaway drive in gaming history. Halo 3 mastered action finales. The idea of having the map explode around the player as they race towards their escape is thrilling every time I replay it. Action is a great way to just keep players engaged and entertained with a story. Whoa, we're talking a lot about finales, but what about the finale of the year? It's coming up close, and we still haven't reached 1K subscribers, so if we could do that before the end of the year, guys, that would be epic. So be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed my stuff and want me to keep making it. It helps out a lot and it means the world. Thank you, and let's get back to the video. If you really want players to be engaged though, hinting towards the sequel is maybe the best way to do so. This can be done in a million different ways, but it's primarily done with cameos, secrets, dialogue, or just having the conflict not be fully resolved yet, which is what Halo would tend to do, but we already talked about Halo enough. If you want to hear me talk about Halo, go watch my Halo videos, please. Getting a player excited for a sequel is no easy task, however. The first game has to be good enough to warrant another. So assuming that is the case, then a little nod to the player saying, hey, there's more to the story, is exciting and enticing. Look at almost every Five Nights at Freddy's game. It always seems like the story is finally over, but then the final shot always has a hidden message showing us that in fact it is far from over. It's such a simple thing to do, but it's very, very impactful on a fan base. Hinting at a sequel doesn't always mean that you have to keep the same conflict in the spotlight though. You could use this idea to show that a new enemy arrived, or even a more minor one steps up to the plate and becomes our new main antagonist. Like I said, it's not a very big or complicated idea at all, but there are so many different ways to use it that the creator, or developer in this case, could really just have fun and make it as engaging as possible. Kinda like what Scott did with FNAF, countless times. In all honesty though, anything besides the Marvel end credits style is more than okay with me. Maybe a sequel isn't what you're looking for, however. Maybe you want the game to end and tie everything up for good. A conclusive ending is something most fans want out of a series, but not something always received well. Tying up every loose end and creating a finale that everyone likes and accepts is never an easy task. A ton of movies and campaigns are ruined by their ending. I mentioned I Am Legend at the beginning of the video, and a game equivalent would probably be Detroit Become Human. A game that literally every player loved, but most agree that a lot of the endings just aren't very good. Sonic Adventure 2, on the other hand, has a great ending, perfectly wrapping everything up. Every question the player could have is answered. This game shows you the villain self-reflecting and thinking maybe this lifestyle isn't for him. You get a tragic sacrifice, and the world is saved. Everyone got a happy ending, and the story could have ended there. Except Sega needed more money and Sonic games, so it didn't, but it easily could have. It's a shame how many games out there find a way to perfectly end the story, and then are forced to return and mess everything up. We're getting off track though. All in all, a perfect conclusion should leave the player without questions. It should simply have the player feeling one of two emotions. Happy endings. These endings are exactly what you're thinking of. The conflict is resolved, everything is at peace, and we get to see our MC live the life they worked so hard for. A happy ending can be fairly boring in my opinion, and sometimes feel unearned. It's very easy to tell when a studio just forces a story to wrap up with a happy ending. Sometimes it just happens or appears out of thin air, like in Yu Yu Hakusho or The Hobbit. The MC just passes out, and when they wake up, the war is over and everything is happy and peaceful once again. It's dog shit, quite frankly. A better example of a well-done happy ending would probably be Doki Doki Literature Club. Okay, maybe not that game. How about the Mario games? Literally almost, if not all of them. Mario needs no introduction. From the beginning, you see and experience firsthand how hard and long Mario is working towards saving Princess Peach. Mario earns his happy ending every time, and that's what makes them so enjoyable and replayable. It's an earned piece. Tragic endings, on the other hand, are usually a surprise, and a very welcome one at that. This is kind of the exact opposite of the happy ending. Instead of a world of peace and joy at the end, the player is felt with despair, confusion, and maybe even guilt sometimes. Typically, a tragic ending includes some form of death of a fan favorite character, or maybe you just weren't on the winning side of the conflict. It can be done in a million different ways, but will almost always end with the player feeling sorrow. A great example would be Halo Reach, but since we already talked about that, let's look at The Forest. A game where you search long and hard for your son who's been kidnapped by a group of cannibal mutants on a mysterious island. This game will most likely take upwards of 10 hours to beat, and once you finally find your son and escape, you're greeted with a cutscene of him transforming into a mutant himself and dying. It's a tragic ending to an already super sad game. Personally, I prefer tragic endings due to the emotional grab they achieve. Happier endings may feel rewarding, but the emptiness I feel always lasts longer. The Forest actually has two endings, which is something a lot of games incorporate. For lack of a better term, I call these variety endings. When a player's choices and actions decide the outcome of a story, it really adds a whole different aspect of personalization to a playthrough, not to mention replayability. The Souls games all have different endings that show off different lore or outcomes of the entire universe, but I think an even better example would be a game like Fallout New Vegas. Every dialogue choice matters in a game like this. The whole game is dependent on you. It's an amazing way to produce a game and a lot of work as well. It does have its negatives though, because it becomes hard to understand what ending is truly canon. Most of the time though, this is just left up to debate among the fans while the dev team can just sit back and watch war. A variety ending can range from happy, sad, boring, to even just straight up chaos. They're super fun and engaging for the player to experience each and every one. There are so many other ways to end the game, and I definitely missed a lot. So if there's anything that you were looking for in this video and I missed it, please comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, please subscribe and like it. It really helps out. And I hope to see you on the next one.
Yeah, just don't worry about that.
Why are you running into the walls of the cave?
I was looking at the map. I just don't want to worry about them anymore.
Did you get hit by the truck? Or by the train?